How's it going, everyone? Michael here. So today in this video, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of working remotely as a software engineer. If you're working in the industry right now, you're likely experiencing the work from home lifestyle. I don't know about you, but I absolutely love it. But there definitely are cons to working remotely. Before I get into the video, don't forget to like and subscribe because it really does help out the channel. Starting off with the pros, pro number one is not having a commute. In my opinion, this is the biggest pro for working remotely. Not having to sit in bumper to bumper traffic is absolutely incredible. At my old job, I actually commuted for 2.5 hours every single day, 5 days a week. I'm sure many of you know what that is like, and it is absolutely soul crushing. I never want to go back to it. By the time I even got to work after doing my morning commute, I was done. I didn't even want to work. I wasn't really motivated to be there that day. It's crazy how much time you actually waste just sitting in traffic. If you think about it, if you were to commute, say 2 hours every single day round trip, that would account to be 10 hours in a single week. And I don't know about you, but I can think of a ton of stuff to do with 10 hours in a week. That's like 10 plus Valorant or League matches, or it's just extra time to spend with others, which leads me to my next pro, which is you have more time to spend with your family and friends. This is a big one as well. Everyone wants to spend more time with their family and friends. I mean, that's why we're working. That's why we're, paying bills to, give us more freedom to do the things we want to do outside of work. Being able to work remotely means that as soon as your workday ends, you can immediately switch over to doing some activity with your family or friends. One thing I did notice, at least for me, when I was in an office all day, by the time I got home and after I was done commuting, I was just really lazy at the end of the day and I didn't want to do really any activities. So it kind of made me more of a recluse and I ended up spending less time with my family and friends when I was in an office. Maybe this is just a me thing, but it's just something I noticed. And in comparison, when I'm working remotely, by the end of the day, I still feel pretty fresh to go do various activities. Pro number 3 of working remotely is the cost savings. Think about, if you're doing your morning commute, you have to spend a significant amount of money on gas and car maintenance. Maybe if you were in an office, you would have to follow some sort of dress code, which could mean buying new clothes, taking them to the dry cleaners, things like that. But with remote, you can wear whatever you want. You can just wear a regular t-shirt. You could be in pajamas if you want to. There's nothing stopping you from just being comfortable. And then another big cost savings is you're not going to go out to lunch as often, and you're also not going to spend money on, say, coffee on your morning commute. I'm reading an article on this website called theladders.com in their career and advice section, and it even says that it's estimated that remote workers save around $4,000 a year by working from home. So from a financial point of view, it just makes sense to work remote. Pro number 4 is the flexibility of your schedule. Most businesses are open from 9 to 5, which is usually when you're working. So whether you are going to the doctors, the dentist, picking up something, whatever it is, if you're working remotely, you can do these things at your own convenience. You won't have to take a vacation day to handle something that maybe takes only an hour and a half of your time. In comparison, if you were commuting for your job in an office, you may have to take time off to handle something that only takes a tiny portion of your day. Pro number 5 is you can work from anywhere. So if you have distant family or friends that you want to go visit in, other states, you can do that without even taking any time off. You don't have to worry about how many vacation days you have because you can just take your work laptop with you. Or maybe you found a super high paying job in LA, but you want to work in a lower cost of living area. You can do that. Pro number 6 is it's easier to recharge. So since you're in the comfort of your own home, obviously you can take the necessary breaks that you need to. If you feel like you would be more productive going and laying down for 20 minutes, you can do that. You don't really have that option in an office environment. And even if your company does offer, some amazing comfy couches or sleeping pods, I don't know about you, but I kind of feel uncomfortable trying to relax and maybe even take like a quick nap when you have coworkers walking by you. Pro number 7 is when working remotely, you have a healthier lifestyle. So this is just my opinion, and this is just from what I've noticed since I've been remote for the past year and a half, is I find that it's much easier for me to find motivation to go work out after I'm done working remotely. Now, even if you're in an office, you can still live a healthy lifestyle. There's many people that do, but I would argue that it's just a bit more difficult because you have to do those long commutes home, which takes your time away. And also, I can't imagine sitting in your car for hours and hours every day is even good for your mental or physical health. All right, now on to the cons. Con number 1 is your work and life balance are somewhat intertwined. This is one of the biggest complaints I hear about working remotely when I talk with, other coworkers and friends. Since you have amazing flexibility in your schedule, your regular life can creep into your work life, and then vice versa. Your work life can creep into your regular life. Almost every company uses Slack for their main way of communication, and it can be really difficult to kind of put your phone away, put your laptop down when you're getting pinged on Slack constantly. A Slack message hitting your inbox at 9 o'clock at night is much more likely when working remotely. At my old job, when I was in an office, I noticed that a lot of people would leave their laptops at work. So, being pinged on Slack at nighttime, I honestly can't even think of a single time that happened when I was in an office. Obviously, that's not the case for everybody, but working remotely, it is much more common. When working remote, your work laptop is always going to be near you, so you're just more likely to be sucked back in to, continue working later and later. Con number 2 is you may not have a good office setup to work remotely productively. If you don't have a good office space that has, monitors, a comfortable chair, a desk, it can be really hard to work remotely. Depending on where you work, a lot of these items will be expensed for you, but that may not be the case for everyone. I would say a comfortable chair is probably one of the most important things when working remotely, because you're going to be sitting down a lot longer. All your meetings will be over Zoom. In comparison, if you were in an office, you might be standing, So having a comfortable chair is really, really important. If you're uncomfortable in your setup, it can really kill productivity, which is a huge con of working remotely. Con number 3 are distractions. So working remotely, you may have a lot more distractions depending on what your home life looks like. You may have kids, a roommate or partner that works remotely, or you may have pets that want your constant attention all the time. You can find yourself in the zone, being very productive and getting a lot of work done, and then some distraction can happen and get you out of it. And this can also happen in an office environment. Some would argue that it happens more, but it just depends on what your home life looks like. Con number 4 is you must have really strong self-discipline. When you're working in an office, typically in an open office environment, you have many people just walking past your desk and they can see what you're doing, or you have coworkers that, will come up to your desk and ask you questions. You likely are not going to be urged to go on Reddit or YouTube or play games when you're in an office, when you have everyone walking by you. But when working remotely, technically nothing is stopping you from being able to do those things. You could go on Reddit and YouTube and no one would know. When working remotely, no one is watching over your shoulder, making sure that you're being productive. So this is why you have to be extremely self-disciplined and make sure that you keep yourself accountable. For some people, this can be really difficult if it's hard to fight those demons. You just have to watch that one YouTube video. You have to make sure that you try to keep your focus and know when it's time to work and when it's time to relax. Con number 5 is the lack of social interaction. If you're working remote, you're likely only going to make really strong connections with your team members, specifically the people that you interact with on a day-to-day basis. I wish this wasn't the case, but it's just the nature of working remotely. In an office environment, you naturally will talk to people that are not just in your team, and you may, go out to lunch with other people in other departments, but when working remotely, you're really only going to have the opportunity to talk and really get to know the people in your team. One way to alleviate this con is, one, either be on multiple teams, but that may not be up to you. 2, you could just schedule time every week with different people. But obviously that is a lot of work as well. So, you know, that's totally up to you. Con number 6 is onboarding can be really difficult when working remotely. This is a very situational con if you're starting your new job. If your company has not streamlined the processes, you know, for onboarding remote workers, it can be pretty hard to get going. Onboarding is already a stressful time, even if you're in an office. You know, you're meeting a bunch of people, you're trying to learn the intricacies of the company, what processes they have, but add an extra layer of working remotely, it makes it a lot more difficult. Typically in an office onboarding process, you'll have someone, you know, that's your mentor that is pretty much by your side at all times. You can go over to their desk and ask them questions and all that. This was pretty common at my old job when we would have interns onboarded in the office. They would pair with, you know, one of the engineers that had been there for a while. When you're working remotely, you do still have, you know, mentors typically, but getting your questions answered can be slower. Communicating through Slack or Zoom can lead to maybe certain concepts taking longer to click, or just you getting delayed responses on any questions you have. Once again, this con entirely depends on the company you're joining. Some companies have fantastic onboarding processes and you really won't have to worry about this. Overall, I would say the pros outweigh the cons when working remotely. In my opinion, remote work is the future, and I honestly cannot see myself going back to an office anytime soon. With the free time I save from not commuting, I get to continue to work on this YouTube channel a lot more and do a bunch of other stuff with my free time. I hope this video was helpful for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.